Hey, welcome back to The Dive. Our guest today will deep dive into the carbon offset space. From Adam Neumann's involvement, carbon credit exchange traded funds, transparency, the net zero timeline and how realistic it is, as well as the company's most recent option agreements, investment pipeline, and what investors should look out for over the near term. He's the CEO of Carbon Streaming Corp. Justin Cochrane's joining us today. But before we bring you Justin's interview, just do me one quick favor and go ahead and smash that subscribe button so we can keep making you these videos. Hey Justin, welcome back to The Dive.
Thanks, Cassandra. Nice to be back.
Yeah, it's so great to have you back. Thanks for joining us. Okay, so Adam Neumann, the co-founder of WeWork and the focus of podcast turned TV series We Crashed, said that he would like to fix climate change with crypto. And he just launched Flow Carbon with $70 million of funding. What are your thoughts on Adam's involvement in the space?
Well, I think the fact that Adam's getting involved is fantastic for the industry. It's continuing to bring, more eyes and more views onto how carbon can be used to fight climate change. And I've been contacted by, over a dozen outlets just since Adam's announcement and the 70 million they raised at Flow Carbon. So I think it's fantastic, and his thoughts around carbon crypto, joining the carbon world and fixing climate change. There's no question that there's a role for crypto to play. Again, certainly when you think about the individual investor, sort of less corporate, but the individual investor now buying carbon credits to, again, support projects that are helping to fight climate change, crypto is a perfect way to do that. So really excited to actually have him involved in the industry.
Okay, now Australia recently listed its first carbon credits ETF. Do you get the sense that we'll continue to see capital flow into the carbon offset space?
Without question. I think we've seen a few carbon ETFs be developed in a couple in Canada. We have now a couple in the US, now a new one in Australia. I'm aware of a couple of others that are under development. So again, I think this is fantastic for the industry because it's bringing more eyes and more interest into the sector and more knowledge about how carbon offsets and the carbon credits can be used to help fight climate change.
Do you think there's a bit of a lack of transparency in the carbon offset market?
So, yes, in the sense that not every carbon credit created is created, equally, like you might find in an ounce of gold or a pound of copper. So, but it's hard to have that one price point as an example for carbon credit prices. But there are a number of initiatives and groups and exchanges that are being developed or that have been developed just in the last 12 months that are trying to bring increased transparency. That's really from a pricing perspective. And then I think the registries themselves that are approving the issuance of these credits have actually been doing a fantastic job and have been for years of being very transparent about, the projects and the work that they do.
Okay, so the G7 has pledged to end government financing for fossil fuel projects abroad by the end of 2022 to help combat climate change. Do you think that government timelines to transition the world to net zero are unrealistic at all?
Well, listen, it's a great question. I love the ambition, and I think we need the ambition to help drive policy change and direct funding towards much needed climate projects around the world. So, governments are being ambitious, and I think that's what we need them to do. And corporations similarly are also being ambitious. So are they unrealistic? We don't know, because some of these ambitions are 10, 20, 30 year timelines, but it's actually nice to see the ambition and the recognition that governments have to play a role in helping to fight climate change. So support.
Okay, so let's move on and talk about carbon streaming. You published your quarterly financial results with $103 million cash. Where do you plan to deploy this capital?
We've got a massive pipeline of opportunities, Cassandra. I now have 7 full-time people on my investment team, outsourcing, negotiating, diligencing new investment opportunities. We're really excited about what the next 6 to 12 months are going to look like. So that cash on the balance sheet will go into new projects that will help diversify our project portfolio, add a couple of new project types, and add a couple of new countries and geographies that we'll be generating credits from. So pretty excited about what the next 12 months will look like from that perspective.
So you announced that Carbon Streaming has entered into a carbon credit streaming agreement with Restoration Bioproducts, for a production facility in Virginia. What makes this project attractive to your company?
Well, first off, it's the first carbon removal project that we have in our portfolio. So that means actively removing carbon from the atmosphere. So biochar projects are considered a carbon removal project. And those credits are extremely valuable. Credits today are trading above $100 a credit. So very, very valuable credit. And it's our first investment in the US. And in partnership with Restoration Bioproducts that has plans to develop a dozen or more facilities around the United States. So we're pretty excited to be invested and partnered with the group over there.
Now you also announced a $20 million carbon credit streaming agreement with Community Carbon and Up Energy Group. Could you walk us through this agreement?
Yeah, so that was our first investment into clean cookstoves and safe water devices. This is 7 different projects in 5 countries in sort of Southeastern Africa. Very, very excited to be partnered with the Up Energy Group, which probably has one of the best cook stove reputations in the world. We've been working with them for over a year to get this project finalized and to put this portfolio together. So it's planning on delivering clean cook stoves and safe water devices, so water filtration devices, to over 3.5 million households in Africa over the next several years, and slated to remove over 50 million tons of carbon, or prevent the emission of 50 million tons of carbon. So excited to partner with them, brings further diversification into our project portfolio with the addition of cook stoves and clean water. And again, another great partner, one of the highest quality developers in the world that we're excited to be partnered with.
Okay, so for our viewers, can you provide an update on the company's investment pipeline?
Yeah, so we have over $200 million, which we consider our near-term investment pipeline, amongst a much larger billion-dollar pipeline of opportunities that we're looking at. So again, we've really invested in the investment team here over the last 12 months, added bodies, added capabilities. We've added to our sales team to make sure that we've got the team in place to monetize and sell the credits to corporate buyers once they're delivered. So our focus here, along with the NASDAQ listing, which we can talk about, is to really build up and keep diversifying that investment portfolio. So that's a big focus for us.
Okay, so last question. What should investors be looking out for with Carbon Streaming over the near term? Are you listing on the NASDAQ? Or?
So we've been very busy with the NASDAQ application process. So, knock on wood, we are still subject to regulatory reviews, but hopeful that we'll have that finalized in the near term. And then again, I would say, so that with the NASDAQ listing and then this focus on building and diversifying and adding new investments into the portfolio. And as we think about the NASDAQ listing, big focus for us on brand awareness, getting the Carbon Streaming name out there, and making sure people are aware that we're that we're a carbon investment vehicle, and especially with this NASDAQ listing, that'll just open us up to a much larger audience of potential investors. So pretty excited to get those.
Absolutely, very exciting. Okay, well, that's all we have for you today, Justin. Thank you so much for coming on and updating us on your story.
Thanks very much, Cassandra, for having me.
Thanks so much for watching today. We'll be back again tomorrow with the latest news and updates, so be sure to stay tuned by hitting that notification bell and subscribing below before you leave.